坐高铁访乡村。他说，中国之行让他感受到了中国人民的勤劳和中国政府的治理经验，感叹联合国可持续发展目标的进展不如预期。他表示，中国的发展为其他国家提供了参考样板，亲笔写下福字。他称赞春节是中国送给世界的礼物。高端访谈专访第78届联合国大会主席弗朗西斯，敬请收看。
关注国际焦点，洞察世界风云。大家好，欢迎收看本期高端访谈，我是王冠。我们今天的嘉宾是第78届联合国大会主席丹尼斯·弗朗西斯。长久以来，联合国寄托着人们对全球和平与发展的渴望，对公平与正义的期许，以及对多边主义的向往。在世界变乱交织的当下，联合国如何才能更有效地解决纷争与分歧？弗朗西斯主席说，他要用涡轮增压的方式为全球可持续发展注入强劲动力，这将如何实现？他多次把中国称作可持续发展的引领者。此次访华期间，他又走访中国多地，中国的发展给他留下了怎样的印象？让我们一起走进本届联大主席弗朗西斯。His Excellency President Dennis Francis, welcome to Leaders Talk. It is an absolute honor for us to have you with us.
Thank you.
We know that in the past few days you've been traveling across China, across Chinese cities,
Yes.
Visiting the countryside as well as the tech hubs. And we heard that this morning you visited the Great Wall and the Forbidden City.
Yes.
How did you like what you saw?
I loved what I saw. I found it truly amazing that China has been so successful in transforming itself, really, and achieving such heights of performance in a broad spectrum of areas, in infrastructure, in poverty alleviation, in women's empowerment, in education. These are precisely the things, the goals that we have at the United Nations in the context of sustainable development and the SDGs. And it's very gratifying and inspiring to observe what China has managed to achieve through great effort, no doubt. It didn't happen by magic. These things require effort and discipline and dedication. And that has been manifest in what China has been able to achieve. So it's been really a voyage of discovery for me to see all of this in action, policy in action on the ground, impacting people's lives in very positive ways.
We understand that you took the bullet train from
Yes.
Shanghai to Beijing.
Yes.
May I ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your experience of the train ride?
9.99999.
Infinite.
Infinite. Really. I mean, I've taken bullet trains in other parts of the world. The experience does not compare to what I experienced on the train between Shanghai and Beijing. It's quite extraordinary.
What about the countryside, the so-called the new countryside that you visited?
Uh-huh.
What did you see there?
I saw in the outskirts of Shanghai a poverty alleviation project, very well organized, nice, sturdy houses. I spoke with the mayor and the deputy mayor. They explained to me how decisions are made in the community, involving the people, ensuring that their concerns and priorities are taken on board. It was really quite an experience, a good experience, to see how governance is organized in China, and also just to get a sense that the people are very comfortable, that they feel a sense of fulfillment, that their communities are strong and cohesive and doing well. And ultimately, that is really what life is about, isn't it?
弗朗西斯出生于中美洲国家特立尼达和多巴哥，有着40多年的外交工作经验。2023年6月1日，他被选举为第78届联合国大会主席。和平、繁荣、进步、可持续是他为自己任期设定的4个关键词，也是他希望中国能与联合国携手推动的目标。作为联合国安理会常任理事国，中国始终支持联合国，支持多边主义。 2023年11月，中国担任安理会轮值主席国期间，成功推动安理会通过新一轮巴以冲突以来的第一个决议，呼吁在加沙地带实施人道主义暂时停火，为维护和平做出重要贡献。同时，中国坚持以人民为中心，致力于可持续发展，与联合国理念高度契合，也为发展中国家走向现代化提供了参考样板。
I'm very touched when you talk about discipline and hard work, because many, growing up in China, believe that that is a quintessential character of China, and as of course as of many other countries too.
Yes. Well, I'm not Chinese, but I share those disciplines. Those are the ideals and principles on which I was brought up. One needs to be disciplined. You set your objectives, and then you do what is necessary to achieve them. Those are traditional values. Yes, they are, but they've proven the test of time. They deliver. In my country, we have a saying, if you fail to prepare, prepare to fail. So, preparation. And of course, ambition. You must have the ambition to succeed or to excel. Whereas preparation is an insurance policy to exceed, to succeed, and to achieve excellence.
Yeah, I'm reminded of another saying that goes, I will prepare myself and my chance will come. Thank you for those lessons, Mr. President. You said during your meeting with the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi that the Chinese experience in development and in modernization can inform and perhaps enlighten the rest of the developing world.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on why you said so and why you think so?
Well, for example, you asked me about the bullet train, the high-speed train. It's not just the high-speed train in China. When you look at what China has been able to achieve in the way of infrastructure, the roads, the highways, water distribution, the bullet train, these are extremely important foundation pillars of development. Infrastructure opens up new areas for development, integrates people into the system. And you build a road into a distant community, you open access to that community. You bring that community closer to the market. All kinds of opportunities open up that can be taken advantage of by the people. And China has gone a very long way with very sophisticated infrastructure to build strong networks on the ground that in fact advance and strengthen the process of sustainable development. So that's one area in which China has many successes that it can share with the developing world, with the global south. There are others, such as education. I was delighted to learn that UNESCO has designated Shanghai a center a first-ranked center for education and teaching. As you know, education is a core principle and objective of the Sustainable Development Goals, but it's fallen woefully behind in terms of the achievement, as in fact have most of the goals. The performance has been less than anticipated and expected. However, in the case of China, you've made significant strides. I was very impressed to learn that approximately almost 50% of the population, school population, are female in China. In many parts of the world, as you know, girls are denied a formal education with long-term implications for the stability of the society and for the functioning and well-being of the society, not in China.
Yeah, you have this pin that says gender equality.
Gender equality, yes.
Very dear to your heart.
Very dear to my heart. So there is a lot that China has achieved that even as a developing country, it can share best practices with other developing countries in the context of international cooperation as proposed and anticipated by the United Nations.
Mr. President, you once said during a recent interview that we must turbocharge sustainable Development
Yes.
Goals and its realization. I really like this word, turbocharge. That shows the urgency and necessity, of course. And then this Sustainability Week to be held in April
Yes.
is your brainchild. Maybe you can talk to us about the necessity of catching up on achieving and realizing sustainability goals. Where do we fall short in particular?
Okay. Let me say first of all that my use of the term turbocharging the SDGs, I did not invent the term. I've in fact borrowed it from the Secretary General, and I use it regularly because I think it aptly captures what needs to happen with the SDGs. We are way behind. There are only 6 years left to 2030, and so we need to be focused, disciplined, and dedicated in making progress there. But in relation to the other part of the question that you asked about how we can catch up, the means by which we can catch up, there's no doubt that the SDGs require the undertaking of reforms, and those reforms, for them to be implemented effectively, requires resources. Resources that most developing countries, particularly the most vulnerable, small island developing states, LDCs, LLDCs, do not have the wherewithal to finance internally. And there's a very good reason why they don't. That reason is that they are burdened with the overhang of debt. So Sustainability Week, as we have conceived it, is a flagship project that will focus on 5 primary areas, sectors of the economy that we believe are of extreme importance to several developing countries. And they are tourism, infrastructure, energy, debt sustainability, and there's one more, which transportation. Those sustainable development simply would not be possible without an effective, well-organized transportation system. Infrastructure we spoke about earlier, the necessity for infrastructure to unify markets, to bring people together, to bring people into the system, to facilitate the movement of goods and people. And finance, not forgetting finance, because people in the far reaches of the country, out in the countryside, they have financial needs. They need to undertake transactions. So Sustainability Week is intended to bring a sharp focus on those areas which are critical to sustainable development, and also to use the term again, to turbocharge progress towards the achievement of the SDGs. We are not by any means leaving the SDGs behind. In 2015, we committed to doing the SDGs, and we remain committed to achieving the SDGs by 2030.
Mr. President, there are 865 million people still in poverty, according to yourself.
Yes.
That is stunning.
You expressed amazement just now, a minute ago, about the fact that 865 million people are still living in poverty. Translate that 800 million people to 800 million people lifted out of poverty by China. And you see the magnitude of the achievement, how powerful it is, how impressive it is, and how unique it is. And that's why we think that China is an ideal partner with the United Nations to share these experiences.
President Francis, talking about war.
Yes?
We have one right now in Gaza. There have been multiple United Nations resolutions calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, an immediate ceasefire, because people are dying, children are dying.
Yes. And that continues to be a major, major worry for us in the General Assembly and for the wider United Nations. Forget not that the aim of the United Nations when it was set up, and even now, was to save humanity from the scourge of war, the pain, the suffering, and the degradation that war imposes on human beings. And that remains valid to today. But the General Assembly has not sat idly by on its wrists and done nothing. We have in fact passed 2 resolutions in the General Assembly, and I'm very proud of my colleagues in the Assembly that this has been so. We passed 2 very strong resolutions, both calling for an immediate ceasefire, the immediate unconditional return of all hostages, the facilitation of access to Gaza by humanitarian agencies in order to carry out their responsibilities to provide aid and support to those who need it, and for there to be dialogue and diplomacy between the 2 parties, the initiation of dialogue with a view to finding a permanent and lasting situation. I have to say that those 2 resolutions were passed in the General Assembly. They've not been implemented, and those resolutions were passed at the height of a period when the Security Council itself, after several attempts, had not been able to adopt a resolution on Gaza. It was only in the wake of the General Assembly first resolution, and with China's assuming the presidency of the Security Council in November, that the Council found its way to adopting a humanitarian resolution on Gaza. It is a major worry, the situation in Gaza. It persists. As it stands at the moment, starvation is a real problem. The probability of public health diseases, lack of water, people are living under the most dire conditions, totally unsatisfactory. We continue to hope. In fact, let me use the opportunity of this interview to call yet again for a ceasefire in Gaza. It really is the beginning of a process that could amply and necessarily take care of the humanitarian needs of the people in Gaza. Let me say this. Humanitarian needs are needs of people in desperate situations. They have no options. They can't go somewhere else. In fact, they're locked in, and the clock is ticking. So one hopes that the relevant authorities will see how important it is to take action to address those humanitarian needs.
President Francis, China has been identified over the years as a staunch supporter and active contributor to multilateralism and to the United Nations system. In recent years, President Xi Jinping also proposed these very important initiatives on development, Global Development Initiative, Global Security Initiative, and Global Civilizations Initiative. How do you think these latest Chinese initiatives and Chinese efforts over the years are contributing to the UN mandate and to global peace and development?
Well, you're quite right. What we need now in the world is an intensified period of international cooperation and solidarity to bring people together. Because the only way that we can address the challenges that are out there, no country can unilaterally address the problems that need to be addressed. The UN mandate does in fact prioritize peace and security, and by extension, stability. We need all countries to cooperate and collaborate in finding the solutions. And that's why the dialogue and the cooperation is possible. Because in that dialogue, in those discussions, often you find a formula that most countries are willing to accept. And so we have to recommit to the fundamental principles of the UN, the principle of peaceful resolution of disputes. It has to be front and center in everything we do. I think we have to accept that without peace, development, sustainable development, will never be realized. We need to work hard at promoting and projecting and nurturing peace, because really it is the only way.
当中国发展和中国外交为动荡不安的世界注入更多确定性、稳定性时，中国文化也在为文化多元共存提供生动例证。2023年12月22日， 第78届联合国大会协商一致通过决议，将春节确定为联合国假日。这一决定彰显了联合国推崇的多元包容的文化价值理念，也进一步丰富了春节的世界意义。
龙年到啦！
春节是中国传统节日，它蕴含着和平、和睦、和谐的文化精神，寄托着辞旧迎新、团圆平安、吉祥如意的温暖祝福。而春节民俗活动已走进200个国家和地区，成为全球性文化盛事，为各国人民带去了欢乐体验。
Mr. President, talking about the Chinese New Year, that we're in the year of the dragon or Long Nian. I know that the United Nations recently passed a resolution of recognizing the Chinese New Year as an official holiday.
Yes.
What do you think are the significance of such recognition?
I think it's very significant, not just for the people of China. The people of China have appreciated the importance of the Chinese New Year. I think it's important for the rest of the world to see a country as populous as China, a leading country in the world, a leader at the United Nations, an advocate for peace and stability, that commands a significant proportion of global population, deserves the recognition internationally of this important day on its calendar. Because many of the examples that China can give to the world derive from its strength, its great unity as a country, as a nation, and the pride and longevity of its civilization. These are important things, important values that the UN stands for. Cultural identity and cultural prowess. China has many World Heritage sites. I visited a couple of them. So the Chinese Lunar New Year is in a way China's gift to the world in celebrating life, development, success, but most of all, celebrating the welfare and well-being of people. That is the mandate of the UN, to improve human welfare and well-being and to save humanity from the pain of war and degradation. So I'm very proud of China's achievement. And if I may, I'd like to take the opportunity of this program to wish the government and people of China a happy New Year.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome.
We really enjoyed the interview.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
On the Year of the Dragon, I wish the Chinese people good health, success, and longevity, so that you can have fulfilling lives and continue to work for the betterment of yourselves, your families, and your communities.
采访结束后，我们邀请联大主席为中国观众送上新春祝福。在描摹中国福字的时候，他一丝不苟、认认真真地写了7分钟。他说不能辜负这个汉字和它背后的美好寓意。他还说要借用这个福字，祝广大观众朋友们和全球华人朋友们新春愉快，龙年大吉。好，感谢您收看本期高端访谈，我是王冠，我们下期再会。